Councilmember Altman.
Here.
Councilmember Freeman.
Alrighty, everybody. Well, let me call to order our regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Crescent City. Please call roll.
Councilmember Altman.
Here.
Just for your interest.
Alright, where are we?
I am here.
Perfect.
Good. Councilmember Shamblin.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Tinkler.
Here.
Mayor Wright.
Here. Alrighty, let's do the pledge of allegiance. Alright. Do not believe we have anything to report out of closed session. We have no ceremonial items, no reports and presentations. So that'll bring us to the public comment period. Any member of the audience is invited to address the City Council on any matter that is within the jurisdiction of the City of Crescent City. Comments on public interest or on matters appearing on the agenda are accepted. Note, however, that the Council is not able to undertake extended discussion or act on non-agendized items. Such items can be referred to staff for appropriate action, which may include placement on a future agenda. All comments shall be directed toward the entire council, and any comment that is not at the podium are considered out of order and will not be part of the public record. After receiving recognition from the mayor, please state your name and city or county residency for the record. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. The public is additionally allotted 3 minutes in which to speak on any item on the agenda prior to any action being taken by the council. Do we have any public comments?
Hello, my name is Gloria Carone, and I'm a resident of the Crescent Arms here in Crescent City, Del Norte. And I'm here tonight on behalf of myself and my neighbor residents over at the Crescent Arms who couldn't make it here tonight due to healthcare issues or job issues. And I'm here to express our escalating concern over the growing number of older model RVs, campers, and trailers that keep appearing all around us, and they get entrenched. They don't observe the parking ordinances, and they avail themselves of our dumpster, and they leave their human excrement all over the property along with their animals, the dog that let them run on the grass. And we're seeing women and men, women with children, elderly men, elderly women, and we have, these people are parked outside of us. We don't know their histories. They could be pedophiles. We're vulnerable there at the Crescent Arms. So I'm sure we've noticed this problem growing all over, just so fast. And at this point, my suggestion is that, just to protect ourselves at the Crescent Arms, that we perhaps amend the parking ordinances so that they prohibit these oversized RVs, campers, and trailers from parking on our side streets, especially around the Crescent Arms. Perhaps in the summertime, RVs come in, they're patronizing the Seaquake restaurant. Perhaps they could offer, if they could park and the restaurant could offer them like vouchers, you know, they're here patronizing us, and then they're gonna die. And then they're gonna move on their way, enjoying our beautiful county here and our redwood forests. This is such a beautiful, pristine city, and I hate to see it fall into the shambles that we've seen in so many close communities. So I hope you can help us by getting just that little thing, the parking ordinances. Trying to for the police to try to enforce these rules, like trying to catch water through a sieve. They're doing the best they can, but we're being overwhelmed. So if you can help us, thank you so much. God help us all. Amen.
50-year resident of Delaware County, and I make use of the Crescent City perimeter on a regular basis. I had an experience Tuesday when I was taking a defunct dishwasher to the Delmark transfer station, and it was something I never really ever expected to see in this county. Started before I ever got to the transfer station when I saw a gentleman alongside the street pushing a shopping cart full of his possessions. At the entrance to the transfer station, there were two more individuals that were headed east on that road to the trees behind the transfer station. Following that, I drove down Elk Valley to 101, where I saw 5 more individuals either riding bicycles, walking, or pushing shopping carts, and then 3 more going up 101 towards town. I was under the impression at some point that somebody was doing something about the homeless situation. I hear all kinds of money has been spent, at least at the county level. And I was wondering why we still have that experience in town, which didn't exist probably 20 years ago. And I'm wondering if we are, rather than constructing a vibrant economic situation where lives are improved and we don't have to deal with issues such as this, that in fact this board and the county board are actually promoting this kind of low-income experience in Crescent City, a dependency society that doesn't bode well going forward. I see items on the Crescent City Council agenda that seem to confirm that, and I also see items on a regular basis on the Board of Supervisors agenda that pretty much confirms that. And I was wondering if there was any possibility that you would consider a change of direction that might show some improvement, at least back to the point where this was a community that was natural resource based and provided a pretty reasonable living for most of the community and some element of growth. Now what I see, at least at the city council level, is that you're establishing, what is it, 535 low-income residents for the cities near to well. 271 of them are local residents. The remainder come from where? Thank you.
Anybody else? Public comment?
I'm Donna Westfall, city resident. When the loan was made for almost $44 million to upgrade and expand the wastewater treatment plant in 2007, I predicted that the city would be in default in short order because they borrowed about $20 million more than they could afford. That default came true in 3 years. At the Planning Commission meeting last month, they made a comment about there being a culture of fraud in our town, and here are some of the reasons why. I attended 2 meetings in 2007, along with hundreds of others from the public, and learned that Public Works Director Jim Barnes was also a major real estate investor. And when I asked if he was in conflict of interest, he said no. And this, in my opinion, was a lie because of the 2-mile rule. And this map shows that it was less than a mile to his projects. I was on the city council for 4 years, and in that time, I was approached about what looked like and sounded like fraud going on at the sewer system. I was given evidence. I didn't turn a blind eye to them because it involved taxpayers' money and ratepayers' money. And what kinds of fraud? Double billing, inflated invoices, change orders, failure of oversight, the one and only bid being fixed, falsified lab test results, and on, about $15 million worth. There were questions about the Public Works Director getting kickbacks. So I asked Jim Barnes during a council meeting if he was getting kickbacks. He didn't respond. My fellow council members, thought I should be censured, and Attorney Bob Black came up with a plan to establish a code of ethics that was supposed to be a gentle reminder for people like me asking inappropriate questions. Instead, the code of ethics was used as a hammer to shut me up, and this is what happened. They removed me from all committees. They wouldn't allow me to put anything on the agenda having to do with the sewer plant. They disparaged me in the newspaper. They wouldn't allow me to talk with contractors. They accused me of costing the city thousands of dollars with my complaints and public record requests, and my fellow council members all voted in support of these actions, including Kelly Shalom Fiola. If Jim Marks were here today, I would ask him things like how many times the water results may have been illegally adjusted to acceptable levels. So when I watched the video of the last council meeting on March 2nd and heard City Manager Eric Weir say we're seeking somewhere between 40 and 86 million to fix up a sewer plant, and in general, setting on 50 million, I have 2 words for Eric: prove it. I'm handing in my public records request for a listing of all work estimated to be done with associated costs that amount to 50 million. I can't help but wonder if some of the work is due to repairs from shoddy work done years ago.
Public comments. Anybody else?
Crescent City is a rare jewel. I'm seeing it about to be dismantled with a 30-block, 7-story project down on Front Street and along the beach there. We have the bones of a town the entire world is looking for. Something small community, small town, calm and quiet. We could be the next Sedona with a beach vibe. If the fastest growing economic sector in the world is that of alternative healing, it would solve our medical desert problem in part and align with nature we have so much in abundance. I do not want that city blocks. I said that. If I understand the flow of development that happens in city bylaws, people make their wishes known to council. City council approves projects based on the will of the people, their constituents. City staff is tasked with carrying out the wishes of city council after they have heard from the people. What I am seeing today looks like a reverse flow. The Third Street project was approved by city commissioners, this after people stood up and questioned the architectural design, which they were approving. Asked that the roof be lowered, the parking be considered, that the density not be so tight. City manager's language during commissioners' hearings states over and over mandatory state guidelines. The misdirect is that those guidelines are only in place because developers have written grants asking for public funds to build their private projects. If they choose to receive public money, the mandatory is the 20% low-income housing and others. I would like the council to look into how development is being directed by a few people, projects in the city building department, and the right flow for city bylaws. From the city bylaws, quote, "It is against the political practice for city staff, city officials to influence the outcome of an agenda item. It is making recommendations for approval to commissioners before they vote. This is out of order based on bylaws. The commissioners voted to approve, perhaps being misled by the characterization of state mandatory guidelines. Their common sense made them pause but move forward without impact studies with 2 parking places for 42 apartments and lower retail without being submitted for review by the city people. I wonder if the 300-year-old trees removed by the library could have been a legacy sanctuary garden instead. Instead, it is maybe going to be where a bus station, removing more parking from downtown. I would like to ask the council for flow reports and arborist reports to be made public. In truth and transparency is what I have wanted to become, as I've become more acquainted with people who are all saying the same thing. There are a few people at the top driving development. I have formed Crescent City Cool Factor for one reason, truth and transparency, because we do not want Portland City-style blocks coming to Crescent City and all those problems. We want to fix our own, put on our own oxygen mask. People who are not plugged into the system do not know how to attend these meetings. And as an architectural designer who has worked with city and building planning, I'm hearing a lot of rhetoric. We need a trade school. A meditation center would be a wonderful attraction. Build a labyrinth. We need to attract people who can train people to be mechanics,
Your public
shoemakers.
comments, you've went over.
Almost done.
No, you've went over.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jim Nelson. I'm 79 years old. I've lived in Delaware County for 74 years. I always see things semi-approved before they have the public input. I would like to see public input shortly after you guys know things are coming to pass in Delaware County. Now we're looking at a whole bunch of low-cost apartments. Government money is going to be coming in, which is a freebie to someone. I can't blame someone for taking that offer. But at the same time, we don't have jobs here. We're going to get a lot of people that don't work. They got their hands out like Allstate. Give me, give me, give me. They don't want to work. So what are we doing to our county? We're putting a burden on our sheriff's department, putting a burden on the fire department, and lots of other agencies that we don't look ahead to see what these problems are going to cause just by allowing all this stuff to come in. And I think sometimes we need to get a better picture of what's happening. Yeah, it's nice to see our county grow, but is it growing the right way? I think we need to slow down and realize the effects that all these apartments are going to cause. I've been a realtor here for 49 years. I see people come and go. I know what kind of people. I'm a renter. When the government comes in and gives free money for building these things, they compete with people like me. I can't complain because my rents are very low anyway compared to everybody else. But there's a lot of other property owners in Delaware County where it's not really fair when the government comes in and builds all these apartments and they're competing against them. So if I was them, I'd be madder than hell and be down here complaining, saying, hey, let's put a halt to this and slow it down a little bit. We've got a lot of apartments being built. I'm not seeing a lot of residential homes being built for the people from Southern California that maybe are going to want to come and move here. So everything's going to apartments. And I think we're going to see down the road, it's going to cause problems with other agencies. And it's going to make our county a little bit worse than what it is now. So please take a look and think ahead before you make decisions on something that's just to pass it through because it's free money coming in to build more units in Delaware County.
A quick word from the other side. Mike Tompkins, resident of Crescent City. There's libraries full of stats that suggest that those people with their hands out couldn't work if they wanted to, and many of them do work. We personally have a low income renter in one of our homes who's currently going to college and working to get independent. And so I know that personally. I know not only the stats support that, but people I know support that. I applaud the City Council for the work they're doing. I really believe that what you're doing is the right thing. Because there's been a complaint before in this meeting already of seeing people with shopping carts and the homeless people, the swamp. We know all about that. We've known it for a long time. What you're doing is finding a way to reduce the number of people with shopping carts. Housing first works. We know that. There's libraries full of stats to prove that all across the world. It works. So putting them, getting out of the woods, out of the swamp, into some kind of housing. We currently have somebody here, Daphne, who has been working diligently on that for many years and very successfully has now begun. We now have a shelter that's almost ready to come online. We're going to have transitional housing. All of this is working in the same direction that you guys are working to reduce the number of people that have to live in this world and that really don't want it, most of them. So I applaud you. Keep it up. That's the voice on the other side of the line.
Any other public comment?
Good evening. Alicia Williams, actually live in Delaware on Parkway. But since we're on this subject, this is a big concern for everybody. I want to tell you about my attempts to try to get some answers, like common sense answers, from Mission Possible with lots of different things that have come up around the homeless and their needs. They have a lot of needs, obviously. The things that really stood out to me is they still don't provide like sanitation. I was told by Daphne that they pulled out porta potties. I don't know when this happened. I don't really have specifics, but they pulled out porta potties because they apparently put clothing and needles in the, where you're supposed to go to the bathroom. So I don't know what's going on with that. It's a huge concern though because of disease and hygiene issues. And I do not understand why this county does not have showers and like a day shelter or a night shelter. The fact that they've been working for several years with all this money and they don't have temporary shelters when I know the swamp is over where they have large storage units, like they're massive, like for people's boats and things. There's also that huge property on the highway that's been vacant that I think used to have a pawn shop in it. We could rehab these buildings for shelters so that people aren't out in the elements. Why that's not happening with all the money that's been invested is shameful. The fact that I just don't get it. And I don't know where to look for the answers. When I ask people, the people directly involved, they don't give me the answers. And then Daphne additionally told me about they have issues with body lice. And apparently they don't have a system for them to get treated that's isolating them, and then they have to have this treatment that takes a long time. And I think she said it has to be reapplied. And it's like, you don't have something working with the county and working with our community to have that going. I mean, it's just, I don't know what is going on with these people that are working on these groups, these committees. I have no clue what they're discussing. They're obviously not that good at problem solving. I do know that in this community, it's very hard to get any public workers to actually call people back or follow up on stuff. So I am going to give them some grace around that because I'm not saying they're not trying, but the accountability in this community is non-existent. And it has eroded trust here severely. And you have a lot of people that then lose compassion. That is not good. We must retain our compassion. We're all neighbors. All of us are neighbors. That's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Good evening. My name is Heidi Heim. I'm a resident of the city. I'm in a unique position as my husband and I have a primary residence in the city, our neighbors, and we also own commercial property. So currently, our commercial property, we share a parking lot with the city. It's a very, very narrow strip, and there's a building directly across this parking lot that we own that does not have a single parking place for the businesses that reside within it. So we have parking ordinances, and new businesses, new buildings pop up, and there's a requirement to provide a certain number of parking spaces. That is not being, that's not being held to accountability. So we either give everyone the same requirement, or it's just going to continue to be a free-for-all. So I attended a planning commission meeting recently, and I was shocked. You can only vote on what is presented to you. Okay, there is a building that is now going to have 42 units and 2 parking spaces. Does that make any sense to anyone? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. You have 42 units, you have 42 spaces. So if your building that you are intending to build does not have the foundation to support ground parking and however many stories you want above that to, what, roughly have 14 units per story, it's 3 stories high, I think, then we shouldn't be allowing this building to be built. I'm already playing parking police, and God forbid any of you require physical therapy, you too will be fighting for a parking space unless I'm, out there with my clipboard and writing down, license plates. It's beyond ridiculous. We know we have a parking problem. When we know better, we do better. I urge you all to send this back to the Planning Commission with specific requirements on parking. I know you're capable of doing this. I know you're all capable of making the right choice here. And if you have not been down to Anateca on a Monday night and tried to park down there and have a beer or whatever in the last 2 months, then you should not be voting on this at all. You should be getting down to Anateca, having a beer on a Monday night, and seeing what it's like to park. I walked here, by the way, because I knew there wouldn't be any parking.
Any other public comment?
I would like to say something. I just came back to the city. So I left Delaware County.
What was your name, sir?
Oh, I'm Nicholas Maya. So I'm back in the city. I've been gone for almost 10 years, and nothing ever happens in Delaware County at all. Like my entire life, I'm 45 now. And I leave, I come back, everything is different. And I've lived in Fresno, Bakersfield, San Francisco, San Jose, Santa Clara, Sunnyvale, many other cities, Santa Cruz. And this is the only city that I've seen dramatically change in such a short amount of time with the limited resources that are here. And it makes me wonder what's really going on. And I was shocked when I got here. I had no idea how many apartments were here. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, except that I remember specifically, we were not allowed to build high in this county, especially inside the flood zones. And also, if I can keep my train of thought here, there were some other rules about providing shelter and the necessary resources for the homeless population here, because in 2004, I was actually working with some other people to create an organization called the Venus Foundation for the Poor, and we were trying to acquire that Sequate building, and we were not allowed to because of the very reasons now we're seeing it all change, which is good because now we're seeing things happen, but I'm a little bit weirded out that all of this is happening so quickly. That was just 10 years. But somebody else mentioned something about the homeless problem, where and it's not the homeless problem specifically, it's the subset of problem with the drugs and the trash and the sanitation issues and the medical issues and mental health issues and other things. Those are not being addressed. They're still not being addressed. And if they are, I can't see any of it. In fact, it's way worse now than 10 years ago. And without any of that resolved, I don't know what's gonna happen, say, in another 10 years. So I don't know if I want to stick around another 10 years, but I'm here for now, so I might as well say something.
Good evening, Mayor, councilors. I'm Roger Gitlin, and Angie and I are city residents, and we've lived here 16 years. I'm going to speak from the heart right now and tell you that it's time to tap the brakes. We're going in the wrong direction, and we're going very quickly. Have you each individually thought about what Crescent City is going to look like in 2 years, and 5 years, and 10 years, and into the future with all this free grant money? I'm particularly disturbed at the apartments, the Battery Point Apartments, which is a completely Section 8 assisted living project. 41 senior units, 121 multifamily units. Work is stopped there. There's mechanic liens that have already been thrown down. The city says we have no connection to this. This is out of area. What do you think is going to happen? Who's going to fill those buildings when they are no longer delivering Section 8 certificates to overwhelmed Los Angeles County and the Bay Area? What do you think is going to happen? They're going to come to Crescent City. Is that what you want for the future? Is that how you see Crescent City growing? If it is, God help you. I look around and I see in the 16 years a slow, steady deterioration. I tried to speak my mind on Board of Supervisors for 2 terms. It didn't resonate. Everybody wants the money. Well, there's costs to that money. And I'm very concerned that what we're opening up right now will have very deleterious effects on what our, Kate was talking about a village, what our village will look like into the future. And it's scary. You think people are coming up here for jobs? What jobs? They're coming up here to live with their assisted living, with the government helping. And they're going to be accumulating and living in this area between 2 schools. Now, someone said, well, Roger, what do you want to do? You want to tear the building down? No, I don't want to tear the building down. I'd like to make it into a market level apartment buildings. Well, that's not where the need is. How many shelters do you need here to satisfy you? How many hotels do you need or the county needs to buy to solve this problem? It doesn't seem to be getting solved. So what you're creating is a monster situation here in Delaware County. And we're going to be a big city of poor people very soon. I hope you'll take my words to heart. And the next time your planning commission meets with all these grandiose plans, but right now, nothing is free if the government is paying for it. You've got lots I'll finish my thought, lots of issues that you're going to have to pay for, and it is not a pretty picture. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Silas Ryan. I am a United Methodist minister, and I am here to speak in favor of the balanced housing. Yes, we do have a very large homeless problem. We are working on that. I am part of the True North leadership housing team, and we are and have been for quite some time working on the housing problem that this county faces, as well as looking at trying to create more jobs for these people so that they're not just a drain on our government, as some would say. I am proof that the Housing First model works. And I am here to just say that I support the balanced housing. Thank you for your time.
My name is James Rosenberg. I've been here since August. I am one of those poor people. I left a domestic violence situation and came running here on nothing but a wing and prayer. I, by the grace of God, got me into one of those transitional programs. But in doing so, I went through the system. I tried getting on wait lists. I went to apartment complexes. I searched high and low. I was looking with both if we had one. I was desperate to get me and my chronically ill child off the streets and out of our van. I was offered that opportunity and I took it back. Today, I went with a friend of mine to go look for apartments for her and her 2 kids. And what I found was an absolutely appalling lack of housing for anyone. Poor, wealthy, mid, in between. This county has one giant need: housing. Balanced housing for everyone. It truly does. It needs somewhere where everyone can be home. Whether that's the people pushing the carts because they've got no places to be, or the single moms running from domestic violence. Everyone deserves a home. That building is a bunch of homes. It needs filled, and y'all have people that need homes. I've heard a lot of stuff about parking and the homeless and everything else. And yeah, we have a problem here, like everywhere else. But with the right programming, with mental health help, substance help, and housing, we can get a lot of this stuff taken care of, and this place will be better for it. I know so many people where I live in transitional housing that are searching for jobs. They are searching to be better people. They need something and someone to believe in them so that they have something to put into themselves. And housing is that thing. How can someone get a job and be a productive member of society without a home, without an address? It's the bare minimum. There's enough empty housing and housing being put up that we shouldn't see shopping carts. We shouldn't see single moms in vans down by the beach. But we do, because there's not enough housing. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Deborah Lewis. I live in the county, and I am a member of True North. I joined in 2018, and the first thing I would like to say is I would like to commend the City Council on their resolution commitment to end homelessness, and it is working. Slowly we're getting more housing. And there's been comments that these new apartments going in are mostly very low income and homeless and all that. But there's a bigger housing shortage for middle income people also. Have you ever listened to some of these people? They're school teachers, there's police officers, there's a whole array of people that come here to work and they don't have housing. And we need those people here working. And I'd also like to comment that on the motorhome issue, people parking on city streets at night, perhaps we should try and find a place for them to have safe parking, like in a secure yard or something like that. Because they, you know, they're low income also. They're seniors, most of them are seniors, I've spoken to some of them, most of them are seniors. And back to the apartment complex, they're not all Section 8 housing. And the seniors to get in with a voucher, you have to make like $11,000 a year. And that's pretty low. You need help. And as a community, we need to help you. Because when everybody is doing well, the community's doing well. Thank you.
Mark Bauer, I live in the county and born and raised here, 63 years. Worked here. Back in the days, there was lots of jobs, lumber jobs, working in mills. There's no jobs here. So why are we building all this there's no jobs. Create jobs and build it. And I'm not against development, but this 42 unit that you got going down here at Daly's building is in the floodplain zone, tidal wave zone. What's gonna happen when we get another tidal wave alert? Where are these people gonna go? You only got 2 places to park their cars. Where are they gonna go? Are you gonna send a school bus down there to take them out? I mean, you already got the surf apartments, they're already in jeopardy. And you're gonna create another one? That's craziness. And then the infrastructure issue is you're gonna bring more people into this community. You bring a doctor's appointment, dentist appointment, they're non-existent. I mean, we have to go to Brookings, Medford, this is real. And you just put people down there with 2 parking spaces, they probably don't have a vehicle, where are they gonna go? This is kind of ludicrous. I'm not against development, but this is the wrong place. And thank you.
My name's Naomi Payne. I'm a fairly new resident in Crescent City, and I haven't been to one of these meetings before. And is it appropriate to ask a question, or can you only comment?
You can ask questions, we don't necessarily go back and forth though, but.
No, I just.
Yes, by all means, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to find out somehow, maybe somebody can point me to the information, what is going on with those, the 2 new buildings over there by the school? Work has stopped. I've been told, subcontractors haven't been paid, that's why work stopped, but sort of what's going on? Does anybody know what's going to happen? Are there any plans? Is somebody thinking, why did this happen? Where's it going? I'd just like to know, get some information.
Good evening. Mario Westfall, county resident for almost 30 years. And I know the one thing that's constant is change, and the county is changing. It's not the same that it was when I moved here. Without rehashing and getting into all the specifics, obviously you got a full house here. People are concerned, and especially in regards to the low-income housing. I think the essential bottom line is that people want more transparency, okay? More public comment and information. There's tons of questions about all these different aspects. So personally, I would encourage that, whether there's a special session that you guys have, maybe in conjunction with the county, to have an actually dialogue back and forth of questions and answers that can be answered. People have tons of answers. Like you just said, you're not going to be able to have a back and forth right now. But it seems like there needs to be a special session for that. Speaking from having spent my career in EMS and fire service, the high call volume is in those type of complexes. That being said, we still have a volunteer fire department, really a big fire department. When I first moved here, it was nice that I commuted for over 20 years. I did, went down to LA and back. And it was always nice being here in Delaware County. I hardly heard a siren because I had to listen to it all day long being at work. Now you can't go a day without hearing multiple times the sirens going back and forth. So the services are being stretched. The guys are running way more calls. I know, speaking from experiences when we had developments going in, obviously at a much grander scale, the city demanded, hey, well, you're going to have to put a fire station there also, part of that development. But there needs to be consideration for that. Are those developers, tasked with, providing for additional officer employment or fire service? Okay. I see PD going by, sleeping on the sidewalk, and I'm not familiar with the latest laws on that. But during the day, sleeping on the sidewalk, it seems to me that needs to be cleared up. I hear that, we don't have enough officers. Well, when they're driving right by and don't even stop to clear the sidewalk, which is obviously it's a safety issue, that the public services are stretched to its max, and we're looking at introducing more and more residencies into a county that, like the gentleman just said, there aren't any true jobs. We're maxed. It's all fine and good to say, well, we all need housing, but, you know, when you're maxed out, that's it. You know, you gotta go somewhere else apparently.
Hi, Catherine Murray. I'm here tonight because I was visiting with my neighbors last Thursday afternoon, and I was told that the new apartment complex that has been referenced frequently tonight is trying to recruit people from LA and the Bay Area to come and live in Del Norte County in the low-income Section 8 housing. And I didn't think that sounded quite right, so I did some research. I called your wonderful director for Crescent City Housing Authority, Megan Miller, and I left her a message, and she called me back, and she explained that the way the Section 8 vouchers work is that the county residents have priority. So anybody that was trying to sneak up here to get low-income housing wouldn't really have that opportunity, because we have so many people on the waiting list even that that's not really what's going on. So I just wanted to commend Megan for calling me back, and for I thought it'd be important to set the record straight, because there's a lot of people that misunderstand how the Section 8 housing vouchers work, and that our people here in our county get priority, and they're not we're not giving vouchers to people from out of town and having them move here and then not have a job. So I just thought I'd bring that up, and for anybody that had misunderstood that, I thought it'd be important for them to know. Thank you.
My name is David Garcia. I live in the county. I tend to watch these city council meetings on YouTube quite often, and I can say I'm inspired with a high level of confidence in the leadership of the council and the capability of the management team. And I don't have any reason for skepticism that you haven't done due diligence with regard to the housing needs in the community. But when I do see the large apartment complexes, what I do think is how are all these people going to charge their electric vehicles? And that's what I'd like to talk about. I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about electric vehicles, or EVs, including supervised self-driving and also fully autonomous EVs. Right now, the best-selling vehicle in California is an electric vehicle. And EV adoption is accelerating globally. For example, in China, 50% of new cars are EVs. In Norway, it's over 95%. It's very noticeable in some California cities that have the dealers and the services and the power infrastructure in place. Not so much in a small city like Crescent City. We don't have those amenities, but it's coming. It may take some years, maybe into the 2030s, when a sea change occurs, but it's highly likely. I've noticed an increase in EVs locally, and they certainly do travel up and down 101. I personally know a Grants Pass couple that likes to visit Brookings, and when they do, they usually stop in Crescent City to eat at a restaurant by the EV charges at the downtown charging station. With the cost of around $60, $75 to fill a gas tank, people will start looking for options. EVs are less expensive in the long run, and they're getting more and more affordable. The truth is that they are cleaner, they can perform better, they require less service and maintenance in general than their internal combustion engine counterparts. Crescent City has an opportunity to start planning now for what's likely to be a massive EV adoption. There are also EVs that include self-driving software. I have a coworker that commutes daily from Brookings. She really needs to engage the steering wheel or the pedals. In addition, right now, there are cabs being rolled out, taxi cabs in large, dense urban areas that have no steering wheel or pedals. They have no mirrors because these cabs have no drivers. I can hear people saying, there's no way I'm getting into a car with no driver. Yet studies have been done regarding safety, comparing, say, 100,000 miles of human-driven vehicles compared to the same amount of miles of autonomously driven vehicles. The EV is far less likely to be involved in an accident by an order of magnitude. It's almost to be considered unethical if the city does not embrace not only EVs, but the self-driving EVs. The Department of Transportation, in conjunction with the Department of Energy, has created a site, driveelectric.gov. There's a lot of resources there, including a site dedicated to small rural communities to help them develop the infrastructure and capability for what's likely to be a paradigm shift with regard to transportation. These new autonomous vehicles have a lot of benefit for elderly people and non-drivers, potentially could get somebody to a hospital faster than waiting for an ambulance to come, can help with evacuations in case of like a cascading event. So thank you if you've already thought about all this in advance, and thank you again for your continued leadership and capability.
Almost 1 hour in, maybe we can bring it home soon. I'm Dana Gill, and I live in the city. Anyone who works in housing around Del Norte or has looked for housing, as we've heard, knows that we are desperately underhoused here in Crescent City. And we're still working towards all of our housing plan needs, and I gotta say, I'm so grateful that we have Megan and Eric doing the work that they're doing. Like, they are so knowledgeable in developing Crescent City in a way that is balanced and I think good for us. As a United Methodist minister, it's important that we love our neighbors in all that we do, especially in our social works. And that means that we care about the quality of housing that our neighbors get, regardless of who they are. Balanced housing, which means mixed incomes, not just all Section 8, right? It has a proven benefit to communities, and it reduces the possibility of poverty pockets, right? So I want to say again, thank you to City Council for all the work that you guys have been doing in 2018. I was here to hear you guys make the public, I don't think it was you guys specifically, but council, to make that public declaration of committing to end homelessness, and we are still working towards it. It's a long journey, but we're working well together, so thank you.
Any other public comment?
My name is Nick Porcolis. I am Northern California's representative for the Tribal Health Equity Advisory Group for the California Department of Public Health, and most board member for the Del Norte County Behavioral Health. Excuse me. Paying attention to the time, my oven timer is going to be going off in 5 minutes. I live across the street, so I'm going to make it quick. I'm not necessarily going to address the housing, as I'm going to address the money and the terms. I hear the term free money and grants. If you guys put together a project, I don't care what project, and you don't follow those grants rules, and you don't follow zoning rules, and you don't follow the regulations and laws within the city, the county, the state, and the federal governments, that's on you. End of story. What I'd like to further talk about is making sure the gallery here can understand my point where I'm coming from. You can go online and Google livable wages for Del Norte County. Anybody know what they are? Well above $23 an hour. California Housing Authority has it much higher. Who here thinks that our employees going into the workforce start at $23 to $26 an hour? Raise your hand. Full time, raise your hand. Who's our major employer? Walmart? The prison? Yeah. Where do prisoners go when they retire? Here? Where do they leave? Okay, so this is my point. We talk about bringing jobs here. The vacancies of jobs here for key positions, 6-figure salary positions, have been staying vacant forever. There are jobs here. There are quality jobs here. Some people can attest how desperate we need the workforce. So let's go back to money. Yes, housing is important. For the person who spoke, yes, for wealthy and poor. But our realtor here can also attest, I believe it was a gentleman here. It takes land, private land, to buy and build housing, and that land better pass the perk test. Ask your realtor what that means. There's no private land here. Talking about the scale of housing we need, we don't have that land here. Unfortunately, we have to build up to serve those people that are making those $23, $25 an hour jobs full time, right? Okay. Moving on. So I'm running out of time. Okay, jobs are needed. They're leaving. We don't even have doctors and dentists. I want to see those two individuals come back here and live in Delaware County as a doctor, as a dentist. That's what I want to see. Making assumptions about future being poor, that's rhetoric. That is bad. Sedona, horrible comparison. Horrible.
Not yet.
Ask your realtor. Even they would say, horrible comparison. Think about the money that's going to be needed to all of us to get this, what we want done, but it starts with the worker. Okay? Last point. Y'all need to play nice. We make a pledge to that flag. Under God. It's time to relax a little more God and speak more kindly of the meek and the poor. Thank you.
My name is Margaret Sargent, and I live in Fort Dick, and my family were settlers here long ago. And I want to give notice to the board and to Mr. Lair that I'm going to be submitting, and as well, I want to talk about some of the topics that are also going to be admitted into this, that people are not realizing the homeless, as they've been pushed out for the last couple of years by the county. The illegal RV parks have not been replaced, therefore they're out of the streets, and people could see them now. Now, people are complaining because they see them on the streets, and they did not realize they were there before, because they had shelter. Now they've been pushed out and made an example of out on the streets, as they have been harassed every 8 hours, even the ones who work here. They live in RVs, yes, they work here. And there's no legal RVs that have been put in place to replace those values that are needed immediately and they've been ignored for the last couple of years. There are numbers between pages 5 and 24 that Mr. Weir has admitted we have invisible numbers. Those invisible numbers can be partly seen by the need for propane and off-grid necessities, as this is how most of them would like to live, not in a square box. Most of them do not have a want and desire to be there because they're not ready. They need a purpose first. They need to be provided a purpose first. Giving them a purpose through sustainability, through stewardship of people coming together and helping one another to create that sustainability together. That is what the homeless need. Now, our wastewater plant is under attack. And the thing is, the notice of intent to file for local state emergency under Government Code 8630. This is the cease and desist against the administration of measure as funds. While you prioritize aesthetic arches, the very lifeblood of this community, our water treatment plants, is facing an infrastructure collapse. Neglect time serving this notice to you tonight to establish a ground point to the public record that this documentation is being currently delivered to the Delaware County Sheriff, to protection of community resources, the grand jury of an investigation into official misconduct, Government Code 3060. The district attorney regarding the chilling effect and suppression of public concerns. You have heard the testimony of Shannon Hyatt, Jody Mangum, Alice Williams, Alicia Williams, and Maggie Rasputin, to mention a few. And they prioritize beauty over the biological safety of our water. It is not an error. It is a documented choice of this system fails and liability is no longer municipal, it's personal. The time of the trading of our survival and grant funding vanity is over. The addiction to grant funding needs to be stopped, and the addiction to state needs to be stopped so we can keep our community rural and not electric vehicle. ready, available for 15-minute cities. Thank you.
You gotta get him to sit down. Thank you. Any other public comment?
Good evening, my name is Reverend Rebecca Dyke. I'm the minister of the Church of the Nazarene here in Crescent City. We've been here about 5 years, and first, I just want to say I'm super excited about the housing projects that are going on, and we have decided that yes, we are going to be a part of the solution, and we are going to do good things and move in that direction, so I'm super excited about that. The other thing I'm excited about is the Battery Point housing project, because it is put together in a way, as you know, with differing income levels. And that's the whole thing, is that's how we learn from one another, right? That's, you don't put all the kids in kindergarten, all start together, no matter where they are in their readiness, they all start together and we learn from one another. So that's part of the joy and beauty that comes from this differing income situation that's going on in the new apartments. The other thing is I have heard over and over again, wow, this is mostly Section 8 housing, it's mostly poor people. It's not actually mostly Section 8 housing, it's not even mostly poor people. What it is, it's a good portion are seniors, a good portion are Section 8, and a good portion are regular working families. And sometimes we have a way of talking about working poor people and say, well, that doesn't really happen, people are poor and they don't work, that's why. No, working poor, I am working poor, right? If my house did not come with my job, I could not live here in Crescent City, and I love it here, but it's just not possible. And part of this situation is this is a chance for us to move people to be together with other people that they can learn from, and we can share one another, and we can move this, create new culture in this city. Instead of a culture of like oppression, a culture instead of giving a hand up, and not necessarily a hand out, but a hand up. So that I'm super excited about that. It's teachers, it's police officers, it's store workers, it's cooks, it's actually all of your neighbors. So have a look around, because there are people who need this working poor housing that is happening. Third, everyone should have a place that is safe. No matter whether they have tons of money, they don't have tons of money, they did this, they did that. No, everyone deserves to have a roof over their head, and we need to start caring about one another. If we care about what's happening here in Crescent City, then we need to get off our patukuses, right? I mean, they've come down here again. I appreciate all of you being here, no matter what side you're on, but we need to start investing in one another. What do you have that you can help people do? Help people get plugged into those little jobs and think, oh, no one's going to want to do that. Yeah, I want to do it because I need more money. We all need that. We have to look for one another, and instead of just saying, no, say, yes. How can I assist you? Let me take you there. Thank you.
Curious if your sermons are online somewhere. Any other public comments?
I think I can make a second comment, yes?
No, only one public comment for public comment. But before each individual item, you can comment on that specific item before we take action. Seeing no other public comment, I'll go ahead and close public comment.
I do have one, actually.
Come on.
Crescent City resident, and I just wanted the council to be aware that I have requested additional information to help make decisions on projects to Eric Weir. Most of the time, I'm not given it. Specifically for the fourth time, I asked for flow reports and information on the wastewater treatment facility. And I am not opposed to development. I think we all want growth and housing in this community.
but the projects are being pushed through too big, too fast, because they need to maximize the project for the too small of a lot size that they've purchased, and they're granted variances for density and different things that I feel are detrimental to our infrastructure at this time. And the wastewater treatment facility, specifically in the storm drains, need to be addressed before we have any more new hookups. I think there's a 500-room hotel going on at the casino soon. It's already a strained system, and I'm being told it can handle up to 1,800 new hookups at the last hearing. And I'm also being given erroneous information, legal information at these hearings, and then apologized to for it later. And I don't have very much faith in the stuff that I'm seeing right now out of city staff due to the bad interpretation of the law that's happening. And I really think you guys need to have some oversight over the city staff with regard to all of this new development. And I have one more thought, but I can't remember what it is, but thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back. I'll bring it back to us. Let's move on to our consent calendar. Item number 1 is warrants claims, February 21st, 2026 through March 6th, 2026. Item number 2 is the council meeting minutes for the March 2nd meeting. Item number 3 is the payroll report for March 7th, 2026, paid March 13th, 2026. Item number 4 is the budget to actual summary as of July 31st, 2026. Item number 5 is letter of support for Delaware County's Emergency Operations Center funding request. Item number 6 is the approved change order number 2 and number 3 for Highway Safety Improvement Program construction project. Item number 7 is the 2025 Community Development Block Grant application. Item number 7 is the fiscal year 26-27 congressionally directed spending grant application. Item number 9 is the budget adjustment for vehicle and equipment maintenance performance for outside fire districts by way of resolution number 2026-20. All right, council, anything you guys want to pull?
Mayor, make a motion to approve consent calendar.
I would second that.
All right, do we have any public comment on these 9 items on our consent calendar?
Sam Street County. I'm impressed that the 5 of you can read the 455 pages of supplementary information regarding many of the items that are on the agenda tonight. But I think that from item number 4 on, they're probably more appropriately placed on the general business section of the agenda. In that it would be nice if the public were aware of some of the intricate involvement in some of the issues. I mean, in particular, if I may, for an example, number 7, at the end of the discussion at last meeting, I believe Councilor Greenow asked the presenter how many people were currently unique to the program, and I believe the number was 7,000 with an additional 2,000 that actually go to the food pantry. And I hope that's a tally of the entire year, because if it was for a month, that would be an extraordinary number of people. Initially, what I came away with is this was a city program, and it obviously isn't, because 7,000 unique attendance to the food pantry would exceed the city's population by a substantial amount. in that a fully quarter of the city's population is currently housed at the Pelican State Prison. And I'm certain that children don't go to the food pantry to receive benefits. And I suspect that probably 30% of the city's residents and even the county residents do not qualify for financial reasons. In any event, what I'm trying to draw attention to is the fact that there should be discussion on these items that you very casually put on the consent agenda, because they point to a larger problem in the community in that you've developed, as I stated earlier, a dependency society in Crescent City. And this is but one example of that dependency society that you created over the years. I'm not objecting to the fact that people get help. I'm objecting to the fact that it's become an overwhelming number here in the county, where it's better than 50% of the county's residents receive assistance in one form or another. I believe the current figure is 66% of the county's residents. So low income is a problem in this community, and we have a lot of problems with low income people. Thank you.
Any other public comment on items 1 through 9 on the consent calendar?
So this is 1 through 9, yes?
Items 1 through 9 on the consent calendar, yes.
I would like to also support help for homeless and for housing and for food. And I wanted to make that clarification because somebody said something about Sedona. And I would like to just put forth the idea of, somebody else spoke to community, is to coming together. And my entire agenda is to come together as community to serve and support each other. Food, housing. What my issue is scale. So the Battery apartments were just out of scale. And so I see that there's a mobile food thing, and that's why I felt like I could speak to that. And I just, I believe we can come together. So if we don't turn it into Portland.
Any other public comment on items 1 through 9?
Hi, it's Alicia again. So on number 7, I just want to ask, I see that there's an agreement for funding for the Resource Center, Food Pantry, and Mobile Market. Now, I see that in this community, the one resource that we have a lot of is free food. But the problem with that is it's not a sustainable way to feed ourselves, especially because we'll get closed off where we're at. Like if we have another Smith River complex fire and we're closed off and there isn't a way to get us food another way, we'll stop because we don't have food production here, even though we've got grants going to nonprofits for over 13 years to develop food resiliency in this community. They still haven't. They don't do victory gardens. They're not setting up anything where we can do a co-op system from local growers. I mean, you don't have to have acres and acres to grow a lot of food. There's square foot gardening. There's lots of intensive ways that you can do gardening without inputs. You can do regenerative gardening on a smaller scale, but if you have it organized with your homesteaders, which we have a lot of those type of people here that, I mean, gardening is one of the most common hobbies, but if you had a system where you said, hey, you know, we have certain people growing certain food products and they're committing to do it every season, and you have a system where they're providing that to the local, you know, stores like Hayushi Cafe or whatever, I mean, the little convenience stores that we have, like that little B&J Market, I think it's called, and all the little markets, Fort Dick Market, you know, just in the community where we have food deserts and people can't have quality food. All they have is junk food as their option. That would go a long way to actually have a food resiliency, and then you can build off of that system. Why, I mean, is that something that you guys can do since the county isn't doing it and the nonprofits aren't doing it? The Community Development Block Grant, I'm sure it has some restrictions, but apparently you guys can fund food for a food pantry at that's been at the Family Resource Center and their mobile market, which that's also been, to my knowledge, that's been in existence. There's a couple of them that go to different places. And then I just also want to bring this up. Is there a way that they could actually have food pantry hours that would meet the needs of working people? Because there's a lot of they work their butts off and they're barely making ends meet. And they don't even know, I've talked to people, they don't even know there's a food pantry. I mean, there's a lot of people that are just too busy, they don't have the way to look up resources, and that could help them a lot. They're under a lot of stress and they have families. So I just wanted to bring that up because it is a huge problem there. Thank you.
Any other public comment on items 1 through 9 specifically?
I'd like to say about the homeless, basically, I feel for the homeless. I donate hundreds of dollars every month to help feed them. I have a friend that cooks for them. Some of those people are gonna die from overdoses, alcoholism, whatever. But maybe we'll reach 1 or 2 of them, or 3 or 4, that will get on the right track, what have you. I think what we need to have a work program or something. There should be someone in the county, there's so much government money out there. Maybe we could take some of these people out picking up trash along the road, find something for them to do. And we'd probably sort out a few of them that wouldn't want to work anyway and wouldn't take advantage of the food program. But we can't just keep giving, because they're going to keep coming, because they know we're there to give. They have to work for it. You work, I work, we all pay our dues. And there has to be more than just give to these people, because they take advantage of it. And yes, there's a lot of good people out there that try, and they are trying to get clean, and I hope they do. But at the same time, they have to realize that they've got to work. No work, no pay. And we've got to quit being so soft-hearted. As a Christian, I feel for these people, but at the same time, the Lord doesn't expect us to, He expects us to be like the ant, to be working, okay? These people don't want to do anything. If you offered them $500 to wash your windows, they wouldn't do it.
Bring this back onto one of these consent calendars. Thank you. Anybody else on items 1 through 9 on our consent calendar? All right. Does my motion and second still hold? All right, please pull it.
Councilmember Altman?
Yes.
Councilmember Greeno?
Yes.
Councilmember Shamblin?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tinkler?
Yes.
Mayor Wright?
Yes. All righty. We're going to adjourn. Sorry. We're going to adjourn to the Crescent City Housing Authority. So let's go ahead and call that to order and call the roll for that, please.
Director Altman?
Here.
Director Greeno?
Here.
Director Shamblin?
Here.
Vice Chair Tinkler?
Yes.
Mayor Wright?
Here. All righty, and we have the consent calendar for the Housing Authority, which is item number 11, the meeting minutes, and that's for our last meeting on October 20th, 2025.
Mayor, I move that we approve the consent calendar for the Housing Authority.
Second. All righty, do we have any public comment on the Housing Authority meeting minutes of our October 20th, 2025 meeting? All righty, seeing none, please pull vote.
Yes.
And this is on specifically on our meeting minutes for our last Housing Authority meeting.
Authority for the 160 unit?
No, the Housing Authority, our last meeting that we had on the Housing, as the Housing Authority, when we convened as that was October 20th, 2025.
On section 8.
No, about the last meeting that we specifically had, the meeting minutes from, not the Housing Authority as a whole. About the very last meeting that we had, their meeting minutes for it.
Oh, we're only allowing speaking just on the minutes?
It's the consent calendar. We have an item about an annual plan submission coming up, but yeah, right now it's just those meeting minutes.
Okay, I want to make sure my notice is known and designated for this topic as well, wherever it applies. Thank you.
Any public comment on Housing Authority meeting minutes? Double check that. All right. I have a motion and a second already, Chris. Please pull the vote.
Director Altman?
Yes.
Director Greeno?
Yes.
Director Shamblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Tinkler?
Yes.
And Chairman Wright?
Yes. Alrighty, we have a public hearing for the Housing Authority, and that's item number 12, the annual plan submission for the fiscal year 26.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So you will hear your annual report, as the council always does, from our fabulous housing director, Megan Miller. She does a great job assisting over 500 families every year, and in total, there's over $3 million that is contributed to the housing needs of our community. Tonight, you have heard a lot about housing, just in general, and so what I've asked Megan to do is to go ahead and expand a little bit on that, and to talk a little bit more about who the housing authority serves, the waiting list of families that they have, the local families that they serve, and then we also have our community development director, Bob Brown, is also here to talk just in general about some of the statistics on Delaware County and some of the housing needs, as he's taking a little deeper dive on our community, on some of those statistics, and then on the rental stock that we have and that rental market that is there. From a housing standpoint, there is a need. But as I first took this job as city manager, there was a lot of talk about economic development. And every economic development study that we have, or that I have looked at least in recent years, has all pointed to the first and foremost thing that we need, and that is housing. You cannot really have economic development unless you have people in homes, and unless you have people that are going to be taking these jobs if they have a place to live. It's been something that's held us back for years, which is why in our economic development strategic action plan, that's one of the first goals. If you look at our downtown specific plan that was just adopted, housing is one of those first goals, and in particular downtown housing. We have in that particular document, I don't have a slide up tonight, I showed it at the planning commission meeting last night, and I've showed it to the council in the past when we talked about the Redwood Downtown project. In our specific plan for the downtown, it talks about our meager housing supply. That is the actual title of the paragraph. It's not a typo, right? It's because we don't have enough housing. If we want to see this community thrive, if we want to see our downtown take off, right, housing's got to be a part of it. But there's responsible housing, and there's all sorts of housing that's needed. In the downtown, that plan, which had a independent consultant, so we have Crandall Rambler, who's our downtown specific plan consultant. They also had an economics that worked there, and so that was Johnson Economics is who's actually looked into the details. There's 206 housing units currently in the downtown. They conservatively, in order to have the downtown that we really want, where you have thriving businesses and you have a downtown that doesn't just stop at 5 o'clock, you're going to need at least 400 on the lower end, up to 660 on the upper end, in this sort of downtown area. When Don Rambo talked to the council and talked to the community, it was more about science than it was about art as far as what makes it thrive in downtown. They have worked on hundreds of downtowns. What you need is you need a certain number of retail space, you need close proximity to supermarkets, you need transit facilities, and you need people. And the people come with housing in the downtown. That's the science part of it. If you're missing one of those things, you're not going to have the type of downtown potential that we've all wanted for a long time. When we talk about housing, and Megan's going to talk a little bit about it, and we'll hear from Bob, the need is there. The need has always been there. How we address it and having a mix of units is really important. There's a mix of affordable that's needed. There's also market rate. Most communities have a housing crisis. Crescent City has a housing crisis. What makes us different, in fact, we were just spotlighted by the California League of Cities in Western City Magazine, is that we're actually seeing something done about it. We're seeing the growth of these units. We're trying to meet the need of the community that is really already here. From what we're seeing, they're not coming from Los Angeles or from the Bay Area. The need is here. The local families are here. There's also that market rate where we're trying to bring in doctors and professionals. That's been a need from Sutter Coast for a long time. And so some of the developments that we're seeing, they're going to support that effort as well. I know that's the target for the J Street development that recently came before the Planning Commission and is underway. So housing is very important topic. We're fortunate to have the Housing Authority, and with that, I'll turn it over to our director, Ms. Miller, to talk about the housing.
Ms. Miller, I have a question for you. How many cities have housing authorities?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head.
Is it like, I don't know, the majority of them?
Some housing authorities are set up, most of them are set up through counties, I believe. Some are set up through cities. I think off the top of my head, there's something like 300 in California. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, I think there's like 2,400 nationwide. But California's a pretty populous state, so. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go through our annual plan presentation, and then on the final slide, that kind of drills into some of what Eric was talking about, looking at some of the concerns that we've heard from the community lately about which families are being served, where the Housing Authority is prioritizing local families. So a little bit about what the Public Housing Authority Plan is. The Public Housing Authority Plan is a guide to public housing agency policies, programs, operations, and strategies for meeting local housing needs and goals. There are two components to the plan. There's a 5-year plan, which is submitted every 5th year, and that breaks down what our goals are going to be for the upcoming 5-year period. And then there's the annual plan, which we're doing tonight, and that is us coming back on an annual basis saying, here are the actions we've taken toward fulfilling the goals that we set in our 5-year plan. Our last 5-year plan was last year's. It was adopted in 2025. A little bit about how the plan is developed. The plan is developed by Housing Authority staff, Housing Advisory Commission, and Resident Advisory Board. The Housing Advisory Commission consists of 7 members. 3 of the members are participant commissioners, so they are program participants. Their feedback is very critical in this process because they represent the voice of the program. Notification of the public hearing is published 45 days in advance of the meeting, with all relevant documents made available to allow adequate time for public review and input. And then following board approval, the information is submitted to HUD through the form 50075, which is a streamlined template that all housing authorities use to transmit the information to HUD. What does the plan consist of? In addition to the template, the PHA plan makes the following information available to the public for review: our policies regarding eligibility and admissions, rent determination, grievance procedures, and Violence Against Women Act policies, our statement of our financial resources, and our most recent fiscal year audit. So all of that documentation is compiled and made available during that 45-day window. At the time of our last 5-year plan, the 3 goals listed below were adopted for the upcoming 5-year period. A primary component of the annual plan is to provide examples of our continued progress toward the fulfillment of these goals. The first goal was to expand the supply of affordable housing opportunities. The second goal was to deliver excellence in program administration. And the third was to increase public awareness of agency services. Goal 1, expand the supply of affordable housing opportunities. Here are some examples of how we did that. We executed the HAP contract at Harbor Point. That was for 26 project-based vouchers. We achieved full utilization, meaning all of those units are project-based vouchers are under lease. That's 26 of them at Harbor Point. We achieved full utilization at Legacy. That's 30 project-based vouchers. And full utilization at the Hollow Pacific. That's 25 project-based vouchers. We issued 120 vouchers to families selected from the waiting list. I'll dig into that a little more towards the end, but all of those were Delaware County residents. And we achieved 98% utilization of our mainstream vouchers. Those are vouchers that are targeted for families that have at least one member who is non-elderly and disabled. And we improved our voucher success rate by 4%. That's a small amount, but it's progress. we've seen our voucher success rate go down over the past few years. And now we're starting to see some little signs of improvement, which we think could be related to the fact that more housing is becoming available. The second goal was to deliver excellence in program administration. We scored 100% on our CMAP audit for FY25. That means we are a high-performing agency. We received an award 2025 for Mainstream Program Award. And that was for exceptional utilization. We updated our admin plan to include a waiting list preference for families that were at risk of losing their housing assistance. That was in response to the unexpected closure of the emergency housing voucher program. Those families were then transferred into our housing choice voucher program. We partnered with Danco, their property management team, to create a cohesive leasing plan, and that plan was very successful. We had the place fully occupied within 35 days. Wow, that print is really small.
It's time for glasses.
Professional training on project-based voucher.
Thank you, boss. We provided staff with professional training on project-based voucher program administration, and whoever resumed that, thank you so much. And we recruited 2 new Housing Advisory Commission members. Goal 3, increase awareness of agency services. We established and broadly advertised waiting lists for project-based voucher assistance at Harbor Point and Battery Point senior developments. There was agency representation on the NorCal Continuum of Care Local Advisory Board, agency representation on Delaware County's Coordinated Entry Local Outreach Team, agency representation on Delaware County's Point in Time Committee and at the Point in Time event, and agency representation on the Vet Cafe Committee. So all of these committees that we have a seat at the table, this is all really good for us because we're learning about all the other services that are offered in our community, and we're making sure that they all know about us. Together we can then help connect people in need with the services that they need. And so this is the final slide about current program demographics. In CY25, our HAP expenses totaled $3.896 million. That's a combination of all of the programs, HCV, EHB, MSB, DASH. An average of 515 families per month were served in CY25, and the average monthly per unit cost was $631. 250 Delaware County families were pulled from the Housing Choice Voucher waiting list in CY25. And the distinction there is there's one waiting list, but we have a local preference in place. So any person who comes in with an application from Delaware County is automatically put ahead of anybody who doesn't have one. So all of the families that were pulled this year were from Delaware County. 120 vouchers were issued out of that batch of 250. 42 of those were newly admitted to the program, which represented a voucher success rate of 35%. So while the success rate is improving marginally, it means that 65% of the vouchers are still going unused. And that is because of a shortage of affordable housing. People have vouchers, they just can't find places to go to use them. In CY25, there were 56 families newly admitted into project-based voucher assisted units. All of those were Delaware County residents. And at the time that I created this spreadsheet, there were 590 applicants on the HCV waiting list, 73 on the Battery Point senior list, 46 on Harbor Point, and 30 on Valhalla Pacific. So I wanted to address, I know there's been a lot of questions about people from LA or San Francisco coming to fill these Battery Point senior units. it's confusing, there's a lot of misinformation, it's just not true. The waiting list for the Battery Point apartments, the senior units, the family unit list has not been established yet. The senior units, there are 78 applicants on that list. There's 40 senior units. Out of those 78, 72 of them are local residents. So that leaves 6 who are out of county. All 72 local applicants are automatically ahead of those 6 that are from out of the area. Because anybody with a Delaware County address steps ahead of somebody without one, regardless of application date. So there's 40 units, we've got almost double the amount of local people to fill those 40 units. Those last 6 people, we're not gonna get to them when we go to fill that building. I also looked at those 6 that were from out of the area, and none of them are from LA or San Francisco. They're from closer regional areas, Tehama County, Humboldt County, Butte County. So, and we do have a large number of out-of-county applicants on our housing choice voucher waiting list. The reason for that is because we're never pulling from that list. We're pulling from the list of people that have local addresses. The last time that we pulled a name from the waiting list that was for someone with an out-of-county application was in 2020, and that was because we had depleted our list. All the Delmar people were pulled. So 16 people from the non-local list were pulled, and out of those 16, only 1 was issued a voucher and they did not use it. Part of that is because we also have a protection in place that says if we pull your name and we issue you a voucher and you have an out-of-county address, you have to move to Delaware County and you have to live here for 1 full year before you can transfer the assistance out. And that is a serious deterrent for people. We're just too remote. People don't want to move here from the experience that I have had. I know that's a lot of information. Are there any questions about any of that?
Council?
A couple slides back, you talked about the successful utilization percentage, and what kind of criteria are used to determine that percentage?
So what that means is when we issue a voucher to somebody, how many of those people actually move into a unit and we start paying their rent. There's kind of 3 different, there's pulling from the waiting list, we lose some people there from being selected to be issued a voucher, but we don't really factor that into the success rate. The success rate for us is how many people actually join the program. And during the pandemic, before the pandemic, our success rate was above 50%, between 50 and 55%. When the pandemic hit, it was like a perfect storm. There was just nowhere for people to go, and the success rate plummeted. People weren't moving, they were hunkering down, there were eviction protections in place, which were a good thing. However, it did kind of create a log jam, so to speak, because typically before the pandemic, we had people moving every month. And so all of the people with newly issued vouchers would fill those units that had been recently vacated. Well, people stop moving and there's just nowhere to go. And when the supply goes down, the costs go up. And so that's really where the success rate dropped. We also saw a lot of properties being sold because the housing market went up. So landlords with investment properties, we noticed an increase in those properties being sold and then lost to the rental market because a lot of them became owner occupied. So the success rate now at 35% is the highest we've seen it since we've come out of the pandemic. So it needs to be better, but it's certainly improving, which is an encouraging sign.
All right, thank you. A lot of people wanted to talk housing tonight, so I'm a little frustrated that people didn't stick around to have this conversation that we're having right now. A lot of the information that wasn't being, well, a lot of people's opinions were being said, but there wasn't a lot of information. So I wish they would have stuck around to see this.
Council, anybody else? All right. All right, there's
Mayor, we do have, if the council would like to hear.
Oh, no, thank you. No. I'm playing. Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. Where are all these people coming from? So as city manager, we were pointed out, all of our planning documents, we have a general plan annual progress report later on in the agenda. But a lot of the general plan policies, the economic policies, a lot of the community meetings that we've been attending, have been hearing about people looking for housing who are ready to live here. And I want to do this presentation, I'm going to apologize ahead of time for all the numbers and percentages. They don't build on each other, but I'm going to give you 12 reasons why the city is building the right kind of housing that they need. Okay, so a lot of this information is from U.S. Census data or from some of the state sources. 17% are below the poverty level. The state average is 12, so the poverty level is higher here in Crescent City. 58% of the households earn less than $50,000 annual income, and the median income is $35,540. You'll see that number on a number of future slides here. But again, when you think about these people, what kind of housing do they need? So as you start to hear people say, well, we need more single-family houses for people in the city, it's like, who is that going to serve? These numbers also do not account for the homeless or the houseless. So when we talk about the labor force, only 32% of working age people are working in the city. So a lot with disabilities, we'll have some numbers on that later on, and then early retirees. So people who are retiring early that could still be working. So that's just a phenomenal number. Unemployment is higher here than in California, so 6.7%. So you could ask the question again, what kind of housing is needed for these people that are represented here? The city's workforce, estimated 1,800 people, 35% are making less than $20 an hour. 50% make up the following industries. Now these people are the ones that make your coffee in the morning, they sell you groceries, they work at Denny's or Seaquake. They're bank tellers, they're receptionists at the doctor's office. They make sure that tourists are checked in correctly and that motel rooms are clean. So this is what we're talking about, the people who are living here in the city. So again, more than half of the city's households earn less than the equivalent of one $20 an hour full-time wage. So you could have 2 working age people, 3 working age people in a household, but on average they're making less than a $20 an hour wage. And most are making minimum wage. Oops. So talking about a living wage, it was calculated, this is from MIT, that to live in Delaware County, a living wage would be $47,000 a year. The actual median income is $35,000 to $41,000. And so there's a gap between what it takes to live here with a normal living wage and what actual income is here. So we have this large gap here, which really supports the need for the Housing Authority's voucher program and some of the housing that's being built currently here. When we start to look again at some of the affordable housing costs, so greater than 50% of the people in Crescent City would qualify for very low. So maximum monthly gross rent that they could afford is about $1,000. This is for a household of 4 people, and this would be Delaware County. And the maximum purchase price would be $186,000. When was the last time you saw a house being built and sold for $186,000? So household characteristics. So this was 2019, and this was before this housing boom. If you could consider that this was the market-driven number of units that were needed, you could see that a vast majority of these were 2-bedroom or less. Studio apartments, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom. So 60% were 2-bedroom or less. 804 apartments for single-family residentials were 3-bedroom or more, so less than 40%. We talk about, this is my 7th numbers, large families by tenure. Look at, in green, the number of householders living alone. So house owners, not renters. So there's a lot of people living maybe in a 2-3 bedroom house that don't need to be in a 2 to 3 bedroom house. Probably the mortgage is paid for, and if you don't want to move because of Prop 13, your property taxes are low. So again, or maybe there's a lack of opportunity for people to live some of the other places. But that is an opportunity, as Steve noted, that you could actually rent or sell your house if you're living alone there and charge whatever rent or purchase price and get a nice affordable family to live in those things. Under the rentals, again, look at the size of householders living alone. So we need the 0 to 1 bedroom apartments, or 2 to 4 people, so only 79 people really need a 3+ bedroom residence, and this is, I think, in the city, Crescent City. So it's really not the multi-family residences that are attracting non-locals. You're probably seeing that it's the single-family residences that are being bought up by people who are moving here. As Megan had mentioned, most of the renters are local people that, anyway, so number 8, overcrowded households. The numbers in green, so one occupant per room would mean that everyone has their own bedroom. And you can see just the high numbers of people that are in 1 bedroom or less. What this is saying is that when overcrowding is a problem, you have either people who can't afford, so they have to rent a smaller unit than what they really need, or the income is either lower, there's not available larger units, or you don't have enough income to afford the right size unit. So again, we don't have a problem here with overcrowding. So this would also support the idea that the city is building the right kinds of housing needed for the citizens here. The city also has a low average household size, 2.34 people per household, compared to a state average of 2.8 people. And when you combine that with over 50% of the city's population that are very low or extremely very low, then building single-family residence is not meeting the household size or the income need of the city's population. So there is a place for single-family residences. Why aren't they being built in Crescent City that haven't been built in the last couple of decades? Again, you're talking about a market, but what the city needs to really start to build single-family residence is land to subdivide, and the city doesn't have that. But the county does have that land, and it is being subdivided. You see all the new houses being built north of the hospital and Walmart. So there are single-family residences being built in the neighborhood. They're just not in the city because no one's building a house on spec to think that they're going to be able to afford to carry the loan and try to sell that in the market. So for some reason, we have vacant parcels in the city. People are not building single-family residences on. So the city's not doing anything about that one way or another. So who doesn't need a single-family residence? So with a small household size, the perfect size is a 1 to 2 bedroom unit. We have seniors, we have single-parent households, we have special needs households, we have a number of students, and workforce housing. So these are the people already in the city that don't need a 3-bedroom house. Let's look at some of those numbers. 685 seniors currently live in the city. 973 people with disabilities. 124 single-parent households. 282 college-level students. And again, this is the population that are looking for housing in the city that currently live here. So vacancy rates. So this is for zip code 95531. Population of 23,000 people. Vacancy rates were 3.2% for homeowners, 1.9% for renters. So to meet rental demands, we should have a vacancy rate of 5 to 8%. So this is also showing we don't have enough housing built here. And you can see the vacancy rate for rentals is much lower. The vacancy rate is too low to qualify, so some people have suggested the city should apply for grants or loans for first home buyers. The city has been told that the vacancy rate is too low, so the vacancy rate has to raise before the city would qualify for those types of programs. So again, the city is increasing the number of units. And I did want to mention, I meant to mention this at the beginning, is when I said, where are all these people coming from? So our general plan in 2001 had predicted a growth in the city. We have not reached that growth or come anywhere near it, and most of the statistics we get from the state is showing that our growth here is actually negative. A lot of our rural communities in Northern California have a negative growth rate. So again, are we attracting a lot of people to come into Crescent City? It doesn't seem like it. It seems like people are leaving, as was mentioned, lack of jobs or for whatever reason. And so, again, we're at a flat population. In my last slide is, what is the city's responsibility for housing? You're being asked as a city council to do something. And this is my opinion, I don't think the city is either encouraging or discouraging multifamily developments or single-family residences. I think that the city's responsibility is not to get in the way of what's happening, because it seems like the type of housing that's being built here is providing the type of housing that is needed. And then you have so housing is market-driven. And then the state legislature and governor are passing these state laws every year, requiring certain types of housing, offering subsidies to support them, and that's been the focus of current state government for more than a decade, and has purposely influenced the housing market, because they recognize the need that's here in the state. So then the city's role, they've been assisting others in obtaining these grants because they're consistent with the housing needs of the local community, so the city knows that through the housing authority that there is a need for these rental units and subsidized rental units. And anyway, but I would encourage the city council to think of what is the role that the city council should have in providing housing for the community. That's all I got. Thank you.
Very good. Council, any questions, comments?
I had a couple of quick comments. One, I agree with Councilmember Greeno that it's too bad that people left the meeting before hearing, some of the factual information. So I was hoping if this presentation could be part of the city's website. I mean, it's gonna change obviously with time as these numbers change, but I think this would be good for people who are hearing varying information and then seeing the actual stats would be great to have that for our transparency. The only question I had, and I don't want to go down deep into that rabbit hole because I know it's complicated, but one thing I didn't see is it seems like we have had in the last 15 years I've certainly seen it in my neighborhood, a large amount of the single-family homes that do come up for sale become Airbnbs. They are not housing. They are not really they're not long-term rentals, they're short-term rentals, and I wondered if you have any statistics that show how that is affecting our housing supply. I know that's complicated,
yes.
So if you can't answer that, that's okay.
That has come up at the planning commission, and they have expressed an interest in having some kind of a regulatory control on those things because of the housing shortage.
That would probably fall under rentals, wouldn't it?
No, I think it would be more just limiting the number, not rent control, but just protecting the existing housing stock.
No, I don't think you understood. Airbnbs, that, as far as in the numbers, would they fall into the rentals category? Short term.
Would be short term, but yeah, I guess you could, more tourist related
Through the
than.
census, that's probably how they get it. I'm just guessing, but that's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look into that.
All right.
All right, let's go ahead and open this up for public comment. Do we have any public comment on our annual plan submission? Item number 12.
I did in fact read all 455 pages of supplemental material for this particular meeting. And in this segment, with regards to your PHA, there was a line in one of the paragraphs that said, I believe that the city had successfully housed 535 individuals or families in 2024. What struck me as odd is that they, in the following line, it stated that only 51% of the people that found success were local, or considered local residents, and 49% were from out of the area. I don't know how this squares with what I've been hearing over the last 20 or 30 minutes. I'm sure that probably they're correct, they're not coming from Los Angeles or San Francisco, but they may be coming from surrounding areas. I'm hoping that of those people that they were talking about in that particular paragraph, they're talking about people that are significantly closer to the city and to the county rather than from further away, to be able to access the pretty clearly voucher-driven rental system you've established here in the city and in the county. Those people don't pay market rate, and a substantial number of them don't pay market rate. And again, that leads me back to the issue that I'm having, that we have government agencies, the city council and the board of supervisors, that are actually promoting dependency society here in this area. And I would hope that the information that I just spoke to you about is in error, or there somehow is a different definition for what is local and what is not local than what appeared in the supplementary documentation for this public hearing. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm also a little upset that people didn't hang around to actually see the stats. I made a list and tried to compile to answer some questions from a lifelong resident of 42 years and a developer in this community. So I appreciate the presentation with the numbers. I'm going to just give you hard facts from my personal experience. So over the last 2 years, I've built Roosevelt Estates, which is 56 units, workforce housing, non-subsidized. These were fully rented with double the applicants as every phase was being built. We built them very fast. We could not keep up with demand, which is why we put other projects forward, 22 units, 14 on J Street, 8 more with other developments. Working with city staff, we have a short of low income all the way through market rates, and I see it on all the spectrums. I see concerns about low income and bringing in people that aren't working. I employ 26 carpenters, half of which would qualify for low income. These are working people of our community that would qualify. So I appreciate your guys' efforts and the city's efforts for housing. We do have a need. It is true. It's factual. I just want to say that little piece so it's on record. So thank you.
Any other public comment?
I'd like to comment on it as a realtor for 49 years here in Delaware County. There's been complaints that people are buying vacation rentals and all that, but, that's minor compared. There's still a lot of homes on the market for sale, okay? Our economy in the last year, things have really slowed down. You normally see the haves and the have-nots. Last year, I didn't even see the haves, okay? I figured we'd see people come from LA from the fires and what have you. We didn't see that, okay? A few people showed up. So our real estate market has slowed down that way. Yes, I get calls when I'm at the office every day when I'm there, people looking for rentals. We don't have them. The unfortunate thing is rents have gone up so high for our area that a lot of them can't afford the rents. My question is, has Housing Authority raised their rents because they were low? And compared to what is happening in Gilmore County for the rents. So there are people looking for rents. And yes, the number of rentals that are going to be built is going to help the people that are looking for rentals, no question. And they're being subsidized, that's obviously going to help because there are a lot of low-cost people here that don't have good jobs, that they don't make that income. So they need that help. I agree with that. But as far as for the lack of homes for sale, no, we have homes for sale. So I don't know why the city would even want to think about cutting off the people who want to buy a rental for a vacation rental when they're getting bed tax. And that person who's buying that place is taking a chance if they've got a neighbor next door that doesn't like the excess noise, that person, if the people are causing problems with that vacation rental, they're going to go out of business with their vacation rental because they need the good reviews from their reports from the people they're staying in. But we just need to see more people start to come here so we can see more spec building take place. And we need to build homes that the people from Southern California are used to instead of the little cracker box homes that have no style and just, there's no pizzazz there. So things need to change for Yolo County. We need to realize that if we're going to grow, we need to grow in a good way and make it more desirable for the people that do come here. There are people that want to retire here. We don't have any condos here, to my knowledge, in Delaware County. Yet Brookings has condos and they have a waiting list for people to get into oceanfront condos. So there needs to be vision and some people willing to step out and spend the money that will bring in people that can afford that kind of home.
Mark Bauer, Crescent City, or actually, I've been a county resident. But I want to say this, the housing issue, we all know that there's a lack of housing. But I will say this again, infrastructure. When you look at, we have a volunteer fire department, they're stressed already. And then you put more units on top of that. You got the sewer treatment plant, they got fined $255,000. That needs $50 million worth of improvements. Now you're gonna put more stress on that. City PD, you got more stress on them. Water, I have no idea where we are standing with water. It looks like we probably are okay with the water. But the infrastructure side of it, when you think of the housing side of it, it's great. But that infrastructure has to be there, and it should not be at the expense of the existing residents. And that's a huge deal. When you start increasing their rates, and they're used to this, they've lived here for a long time, their water rates, their sewer rates, their power rate's gonna go up 17% here shortly. Wow. That's a huge deal with our infrastructure. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
So Alicia again, I just want to say real quick about people staying. If you kind of let them know, especially when they're bringing up a topic in general comment that happens to be on your agenda, if you just point that out, if they can stay, they don't have obligations because it's evening, they'll probably stay. Because people don't always read all this stuff. They just kind of, this is my experience, people like to vent a lot, and it's not easy being leaders, so, I will say that I think that the city is doing a lot, and that this housing it's all over, it's not just California, I mean, we're in a real crisis here. It's hard to make everyone happy, and I think that what that other person commented about having like a town hall, that's been asked for about homelessness and the encampments for years, and it never happens, and I don't know why. I would say that should be prioritized and advertised to the public, and then you could also use that to dispel the misinformation that people have. And you could maybe use some grant money to do flyers to residents, to invite them to the town hall and let them know what it's about. I mean, I just really think that that's overdue. And then I had questions that I don't know if the housing authority or anybody could answer about whether or not they partner that voucher system with the employment development to fill the openings, because there is huge shortages for, I know at the county, ongoing shortages for staff. And they have recruitment problems and retainment problems. And they were talking about, like, emergency, he was just talking about emergency services. It's really hard, and then also healthcare, it's really hard to get the people here when they don't have anywhere to live. And if where they can live is too expensive. It's just, I feel that there needs to be better collaboration between the city, the county, and the state. I don't know if there is a city, county, state like task force of some kind, but they do put a lot on local government to implement these big things. And I feel that maybe this could be done a little bit better with support from the state. I mean, grants is great, but we need expertise here. That's another thing that's I've noticed a lot is we have a lot of lack of skill set. And it's really hard when you can't recruit people to an area like this, that you don't get the top, you know what I mean? You don't get the best of the best, unfortunately. So, but I really just would encourage that we address these issues, especially around like the fire emergency needs being strained and, you know, all the existing problems getting worse.
Any other public comment?
My name is Margaret Sargent, and vacancy limits. There's no growth of property owners now. Vacancy limits, I'm hearing. I'd like to understand that further. After Airbnb's big boom, that was when we had our housing problems start. And the overcapacities, yes, after the county was removing the illegal RV parks, there was a lot of people that were doubling up and tripling up in housing because they had nowhere else to go unless they were in tents and they put themselves at risk for safety. My experience, the most poor who we're trying to address here that needs the housing generally make about $12,000 a year. And also from my experience and tonight's experience, we see where are these people coming from. Well, we had one person tonight declare that they are also homeless, been waiting, I think, August, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're waiting for the Section 8 to open up. It only takes them a year to be here homeless, and then they're local. Bam. Our community is going to be replaced by big city values and disregard our heritage and be a rural community very quickly, within a couple of years, because of that standard is already happening for a man or a person who is here, stating that exact fact that that's why they were here, waiting. Because I've heard that also within the community, not just tonight. And also it's immoral to be working on this expansion too soon and ignore our water traffic waterways. And that's immoral and inappropriate and irresponsible. we need to focus on our water resources first and water treatment before we start expanding further, instead of ignoring it, as we're going to be put at risk for our community to be shut down if it goes down, and be put at risk of being a 15-minute city. And I do not want 15-minute cities, and neither does what I hear no one else would like either, as we're talking about appealing to city people to bring them in, as we're hearing more of that here. And those general locals they want to stay rural and sustainable. And we need to become sustainable in order to afford our officials. So we need to start to afford our officials before we start focusing on more of this expansion that's going on, and replace the illegal RV parks with real RV parks, because that's been the need for the last couple of years. It's been not addressed, and the numbers have been overlooked as invisible numbers. Thank you.
Any other public comments? All right, I'll go ahead and, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for further discussion or action.
Chairman, I move that we adopt resolution number HA 2026-01, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Crescent City Housing Authority approving and authorizing execution of the fiscal year 2026 PHA annual plan and certifying compliance of the plan and its related regulations to the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Please pull vote.
Director Altman?
Yes.
Director Greeno?
Yes.
Director Shamblin?
Yes.
Vice Chair Tinkler?
Yes.
And Chairman Wright?
Yes. All righty.
I do have one question before we go on to the next item. City Manager Weir, when was this agenda posted?
This agenda was posted on Friday afternoon.
Okay, so everybody in the community had just as much time to read this as the council did. So.
Alrighty. We are going to adjourn. Yeah, we're going to adjourn to the next meeting of the Crescent City Housing Authority Board of Directors, date and time to be determined. And then we're going to reconvene as the city council. Note that all the council members are still here.